This is an EC135 PT Plus helicopter located at Sweetwater, Tennessee. The heliport is 37 Tango November. That's the UT LIfeStar heliport. And this helicopter's been here about 2 years. It was new in November of '09. We have 1,440 hours on it now. It's been a great helicopter. It's a single pilot IFR machine. It has a crew of 3, a pilot and a paramedic and a nurse. And we carry 1 patient. Also have provisions in the left seat to carry usually the paramedic in the left seat en route to the scene or en route to a hospital or a heliport, wherever it is we're going to pick up the patient. At that point, we land and the paramedic gets out with the nurse and they take care of the patient in the back while the pilot flies either VFR or IFR to whatever the nearest hospital is, which has an instrument approach or a airport, and then we'll transition from there VFR to a nearby trauma center or hospital. It's been a great aircraft, very reliable, has 2 autopilots. Both of them are extremely reliable. Really enjoy flying it. It's very stable, and like I said, the autopilot is just rock solid. It will not kick off. It's got a glass cockpit. It's got the Garmin 530 and the 430. It's got a GMX 200 multifunction display. Has XM weather built into the 200 Garmin system, and also has a physical radar located in the nose, which is also controlled through the multifunction display on the instrument panel. Great aircraft, very stable. In the back, it's outfitted for EMS. You can see below the sliding door on the right side here, that's the number 2 oxygen tank. An identical one's located on the left side.
So those are oxygen tanks?
Yes.
Okay.
And each one is maxed out at 1,840 PSI.
It's just like the airlines.
And behind the aft cowling there is a Pratt & Whitney 206 series engine. And forward of that cowling is the engine/transmission oil cooler. And then forward of that compartment is the inlet for the engine and transmission oil cooler.
All right. So this first vent up here, semicircular vent, what's that for? This one right here.
That just feeds into the engine and transmission compartment. But the main inlet is in the front of it.
Yeah, it's in the front. Okay.
You think, well, looking at it from the side, that this is one big long engine, but not quite so. Actually, the airflow for the engines comes through the top cowling.
Oh, really?
And the turtle.
Uh-huh.
And so the airflow goes down through the transmission, then makes a 90-degree turn, and it goes straight back, and makes another 90-degree turn downward into each engine.
Okay.
And for whatever reason, it's really good airflow. We don't have any problem with critical engines due to yaw or whatever. It's a really good system. Apparently
so it's not the primary intake. That's mainly for the cooling and stuff. Is the front?
It's entirely.
For the cooling.
Yeah, for the transmission and engine oil cooling. And so.
Nice trivia question. Yeah.
And behind that aft compartment there, that's our lead acid battery.
Right there. Yeah.
And then here we have the primary access for the patient, the clamshell doors.
Right.
They have a couple of latches here. It opens up. This is how the patient's loaded on. The aircraft has an integral litter, which locks in.
Oh, yeah.
And then they carry whatever medical gear, which they may need, on the right side here. And they have, they usually select what they need for the scene, and then if they need something particular, they come back and get it. And that's a portable oxygen bottle there if they need that. The aircraft has built-in oxygen and all the other.
Yeah, very nice. Thank you.
Sir. And then here underneath the tail boom, we have 2 radar altimeter antennas.
Okay.
Very accurate. Use that on our precision approaches and also just for information when we're making an approach. Have a radar altimeter, obviously. VOR antennas, port and starboard. Tail rotor is covered up by the cover. Goes back to the fenestron tail rotor. Got 10 blades. Interesting thing about the 10 blades in this fenestron is that the blades are installed irregularly. And what that does, as opposed to the HH-65 or the MH-65 series Dolphin helicopter that the Coast Guard has, it doesn't have a high-pitch whine on the tow rotors. It's a lot quieter.
Oh yeah, I can see that now. I can see the offset.
And
Yeah.
what happens if you have the blades equally spaced, it creates a harmonic vibration or a harmonic pitch, and it's very penetrating. And so what they've done, the guys at Eurocopter, is they discovered by breaking up the distance in between the blades, it creates a node, and so it sort of silences the resonance.
Oh
so
wow.
Very
Okay.
quiet. It sounds like an ultralight helicopter flying over the tow rotor. It's very
Right. Well, I've heard they talk about the Fenestron is quieter, but no one has ever mentioned the fact of the asymmetric,
location.
Yeah, and now, it's clear as day now. But again, you don't get that many opportunities to get close to one, the tail.
One of the nice things about the Fenestron is, first of all, it's enclosed inside the shroud, and so when we load a patient hot, obviously the people that are assisting us are going to be approaching from the front of the aircraft, and then they'll be assisted by the med crew, and they'll keep them away from the Fenestron, of course. But even if something did go really bad, it's pretty hard to get yourself in trouble. Fenestron.
Right.
We normally keep people well forward of the stabilizers. But still, it's very safe and very difficult to get hurt around it.
Now, my understanding is the bottom fin is mainly a bumper.
That's correct.
Okay.
But still has a little bit of offset for lateral lift.
Right. Okay.
So basically, as you can see, the main fin here is offset and creating lift in this direction, and it's flat on the left side.
Yeah, because that helps with the lateral tendency.
Yeah.
Well, not really. Obviously, if you're hovering, it has no effect. But
well, what happens is, in forward flight, it streamlines the aircraft, and it's a fairly short aircraft, so they put a large vertical fin on it to create a substantial amount of sideward lift and stabilize the aircraft in flight. And so if we did have a complete catastrophic failure of the Fenestron, keep our speed up, say around 70 knots plus, the aircraft will continue to fly perfectly normally without having any loss of yaw control.
oh, okay.
So it's a very good system. Just keep your speed up.
Right. Right.
And here's the gearbox here, covered up by a shroud. We've got a couple of electromechanical controls going back to here. It's a 3-axis autopilot, pitch, roll,
Oh, nice.
and yaw. It does not have a collective mode. It's not a 4-axis autopilot. That's okay.
Okay.
We just
Can you gauge both autopilots at the same time for redundancy, or?
well, they're always there, and so if the number one fails, the number two automatically kicks in.
Kicks in.
It's a beautiful thing.
Okay, because I know on Autoland you can gauge both autopilots for mega redundancy, but obviously you're letting the plane do the work.
Right. Well, this one has two autopilots. The number one is primary and 2 is secondary. If the one fails,
The second one just automatically.
it's right there.
Right. Which you would need on an approach, of course.
Exactly. And of course, it is a single pilot IFR aircraft.
Well, that's for the certification then.
Yes.
Otherwise, you'd have to have 2 pilots.
Yes.
Right.
Right.
Okay.
And it's a very low workload. And so here we have finlets on both sides, stabilize the aircraft. Basically, the engineers trimmed it up so it flies straight at normal cruise speeds, which are around 120, 125 knots, the typical load that we have. The max gross weight of this aircraft is 2,910 kilograms, and we probably fly around picking up patients around 2,750, 2,800 fairly routinely. And we service, right now we're sitting at 950 feet above sea level, and nearby us is Mount LeConte, and we go up there, it's 7,000 feet MSL. The aircraft, we've gone up there and landed and picked up patients
No problem.
frequently.
You don't have to do any type of transitional lift, takeoffs, or anything?
Well, I don't want to go up there at max gross weight.
Right,
I want to make
okay.
sure I plan my weight properly.
Gotcha.
But it will do the job.
Well, see, that's the key, doing the job
That's
that's
right.
designed for. Yeah.
And
Now, I've noticed on some of the EC135s, they don't have these exhaust ports here. What are these
this
for?
is an air conditioner.
Oh, so it's an optional thing.
Right.
Okay.
Right. And we've got a bunch of supplemental equipment on the aircraft. The medical kit stipulates a lot of the things like the air
Right. Some of the electronics need it. Right. Okay.
And,
Well, see, that makes sense because on some of them, I'm like, wait a second, that doesn't have them on. Okay.
And there's a couple different air conditioner kits you can get for this one. I forgot who the manufacturer of this one was, but it's got a compressor aft of the transmission that's gear driven, and then it has the lines which goes back, and you have the condenser and so forth.
Right.
And it works really well. Of course, it has a regular fan blower, and it has bleeder heat like all other aircraft have. Unlike most of the Bell helicopters, it's got the refilling port on the left side.
Oh, yeah, just little things that are sort of obvious. Yeah.
Well, I don't know how many times when we were flying Bell 430s and 47 where the fuel port's on the right side, you walk around sometimes, oh yeah, I need to be on the left side.
Yeah.
But it holds 187 gallons of fuel total. And we normally...
What's the range or endurance?
We burn a gallon a minute.
Okay.
And so,
187 minutes, all right, okay.
So normally I have loaded on here for mission configuration about 100 gallons. In the main tank, and I have we have supply tank / emergency fuel. That's 15 on each side, and so that's like 130 gallons. So 130 gallons to flame out, technically.
Okay, gotcha. Now, where is the actual? Are there multiple tanks, or is there one main tank?
You got a main tank, and it's in the floor of the aircraft.
Okay.
And it's well, they're flat, obviously, and they extend forward. And then you have the supply tanks on either side. Each supply tank has 15 gallons.
Are those like aux tanks or options, or are they just most DCs have them?
No, it's interesting. In the main tanks there are 2 transfer pumps, and then on the supply tanks there are 2 transfer pumps. If basically the main tanks are continually trying to supply and do supply. Either one can supply enough fuel to reach the supply tanks to keep both engines running. And so you have redundancy there. So 4 transfer pumps, and then so what's happening is the main tank is going into this supply tanks at all times. Okay,
can you turn off all the boost pumps, and then the main engine-driven pump will supply the fuel, but the boost pumps helps. I mean, it's like most any turbine system, right? Okay.
So you have 4 electrically driven
transfer pumps,
and they're all identical, which is nice.
Gotcha.
And of course, same thing here. You got another engine on this side. The aircraft can fly single engine easily, 90 knots, which is not so bad.
Oh yeah.
IFR, I'm not really worried about one engine, and definitely VFR, not worried about one engine. Has access on the sides of the aircraft.
Oh yeah, footsteps.
To access just about any place here you might need to reach. And then another step to look in the head.
That's a fully rigid head, correct?
Well, they don't call it that.
Well,
essentially it is.
Okay.
It does have stabilization. But yeah, it's very similar to, I'm told, some of the vocab products, but we do fly with stabilization at all times.
Okay.
Now, here's the other oxygen tank here, same capacity as the right side. Here's the med crew station. The paramedic normally sits here, and then the patient's head will be here. Their primary concern is
head trauma,
airways, and
gotcha.
Making sure the patient can breathe. And then they medicate the patient as they need to, and they have all the gear that they need to have. They have oxygen supply here on this side and the other side identically, and we got their radios and they got their various medical tools and supplies back there.
What's the average flight time from pickup to hospital for trauma? Obviously you're doing severe cases.
Right.
So
well, our nearest trauma center from here will be UT Medical Center in Knoxville. It's about 36 miles away. On any given day, we can get there in 16 minutes.
Okay.
Once we get in the air. And typical get in the air time, even IFR, should be about 7 minutes. Unless there's some complication with the destination or something along the way.
Right.
So anyway, VFR easily in the air, 5 minutes. And then get to Knoxville, which would be a trauma center, 16 minutes. Other trauma centers that we go to usually are Chattanooga.
Yeah, I was going to say, Chattanooga's not that far away. Yeah.
And then we also go to Vanderbilt Medical Center in Nashville. Also service Atlanta, Grady Medical Center, which is about an hour and 15 minutes today. And we also go to the Burn Center in Augusta. It's about an hour and 22 minutes today.
Oh, wow.
And the winds are normally out of the northwest, and a lot of times...
Yeah, you can get help, right.
A lot of times we can go to Atlanta or Augusta faster than we can go to Nashville.
Right, exactly. Yeah, especially if it's a strong weather system, that may determine where you're going.
Absolutely.
Sometimes. Okay.
Strong weather system or just winds.
Right. Okay, I'm going to pause this.